Welcome everyone to a quick video here from our ASRock development lab. The other week I used some spare parts of leftover things and basically spare memory of one system and an old CPU and stuff, and just got an $100 ASRock board here just as another test system. It's spare parts because the only substitute for testing is more testing. And I was shocked that this was the greeting of the open source GNU GRUB bootloader. I have never seen such a distortion. And what happens here is that, and in 15 years or so, or soon 20, not 20, 15 years of EFI, whatever, as this was introduced with, since Itanium, previous video, but then Apple brought that to x86 ironically, and then the PC vendors copied that for more modern boot stuff. But in basically 15 years, I never have seen such nonsense. So what happened here is that the ASRock BIOS, and again, I don't have this on the ASUS BIOS, I don't have this on the Gigabyte BIOS, basically. So this BIOS prints here some random stuff, maybe postcodes, who knows what. So I guess the BIOS, when the BIOS boots, and probably that's slightly different with disabling the, God forbid, annoying boot logo splash thing, which I usually disable because I want to see my boot messages if something goes wrong and what's detected. So if there's this disabled, I can check if I turn the boot logo on, if it probably might be slightly different. But anyway, so the BIOS prints here 98, is it 90? Yeah, 98, and leaves the text, the EFI internal terminal text position thing here relatively down. It could also be a combination with the graphic card. I have a relatively powerful graphic card. I have my most powerful graphic card in there with MSI, Mac, whatever. Radeon 6700 XT or so, 2 years ago, whatever. I remember from the first and only ever run that on an unmatched RISC-V desktop. So either I would think it should probably not be the GPU, but again, it could always be, right? It could be, it's a BIOS. Most likely, it's probably 90+% the BIOS, the PC, AMD Agesa BIOS stuff, and not the GPU's video BIOS. It could, however, be for whatever, who knows what, EFI initialization reasons. But so, this looks, of course, totally garbage, right? And yes, it is an outliner. It's a little bit funny that we always find such things. Sure, Red Hat and certainly not Oracle's broken Linux and stuff. Not that they would care. And obviously all the other Linux distributions don't care, right? And to be fair, you do not necessarily see that, right? I noticed that because I run full disk encryption. So the first thing that this GRUB configuration does is crypto mount. So yes, okay. If you just boot an installer thing, you will not even see that. It's a little bit weird and annoying nonetheless, right? So what do? Obviously I'm not patching the BIOS, right? Maybe I should report this to ASRock, but I checked, so what GRUB is printing here is welcome to GRUB. That is one. So Zelo printed Zelo. What else do we have? Whatever, all the other things printed. You could also, or the Spark Tilo probably printed Tilo for the network booting, whatever. So in Spark Zelo of another GRUB-like bootloader from Spark, you could see from the letters what stage is loaded, right? So initial, very early stage would print an S, and then some later stage would print an I. So whether you got S or SI or Zelo, you would actually know how much of your bootloader had previously loaded. Just a fun anecdote and that you learn something, right? GRUB doesn't do that. GRUB, so obviously what did I do? I grabbed the welcome to GRUB message in the GRUB sources that is in GRUB core kern main, and I patched that already. So they have GRUB printf. It's a little bit, I personally would have, I understand where they're coming from, similar to the Linux kernel stuff of printk, but why not use printf? Also maybe compiler built-ins and stuff, but would be a little bit slightly nicer to read code base, right? Although maybe to build this on a Unix system for the installer. Anyway, so they do a GRUB underscore printf, prints as welcome to GRUB, new line for, do they, maybe is maybe they really want new lines. So probably they want an extra space, so they probably want an extra space. Actually, do we really need this extra space now that I see this? So anyway, what I quickly do to have this a little bit, because yeah, basically each time I switch on the system, it triggers me, right? I could ignore it, but for you out there, and that is like perfectionism, right? Like not, I could leave it so like all the other developers before me did, but yeah. So I thought, like, why not at least, so we could do multiple things, or we could position the cursor position to 0, 0, to the beginning of the coordinate system back here, right? So I have this at the beginning, but all of this is too much for me, right? I don't want to break PowerPC, I do not want to break Spark or all the other supported architectures with fancy positioning stuff, or potentially hide other messages that maybe other BIOSes would actually, like QEMU, print as something useful. I tested this obviously already in QEMU, so in QEMU open virtualization, whatever, or OVMF, whatever firmware thing, you see a BDS TXE device load. So they also print something here, right? And so for this testing and so on, I decided, yeah, let's do the most minimal. Let's not break even more. Let's not, like 99% of the time the BIOSes do not output random bullshit like postcodes or who knows what debugging. Like, hey, let's leave some debug printf in the BIOS. What could possibly go wrong? So instead of over-engineering this, let's just new line. So whatever postcode debug code things the firmware might leave there, let's make sure we're at the beginning of the line, because like, yeah, W here, right? Welcome to GRUB. It's like, nah. Anyway, so let's carriage return that here, escape R here. And I thought, like, welcome to GRUB also looks a little bit shitty, right? Welcome to GRUB, exclamation mark. Yes, hello world, we are in the bootloader. It's like, yeah, let's shorten it a little bit like Zilo, GRUB. I mean, theoretically, yeah. So I take a little bit stuff out there. I mean, very theoretically, I wonder. I slightly wonder. Maybe actually, you know what? Maybe I even take one more new line out. So I only shortened that. I've done something similar with the Linux kernel. It triggered me like each time I boot the Linux kernel on some fancy PowerPC system with a serial console. There is some hello world, like no kidding. The Linux kernel. And when I saw that, like, I ignored it for a decade until like a decade later, like, hello world. It's like a decade later, it's like, I have enough now, hello world. I'm not kidding you, the Linux kernel has hello world, so of course our professional T2 Linux distribution has a hello world patch. So that instead of hello world, we print here the name of this function you debug SSC in it. It's like, because like hello world, you it's like, I thought I patched it away completely, but I thought, like similar here, better not to break it, right? Maybe some IBM engineer left some, I mean, besides I find it really unprofessional, and it's like, let's print out some random shit, like the BIOS, it's like due, it's like, that's not how software should be, right? Some people hate perfect code, previous video, some people love it. Anyway, so I patched that here to the function name, at least you know when you see it, like, hey, we are in udebug SSC init and not hello world. Anyway, 2023, fast forward. Like, by the way, when did I patch that? Just recently, right? Oh, just 1 week ago, when I had enough of hello world. Anyway, everyone starts small, even IBM PowerPC kernel developers started. Once upon a time, decades ago, they started with hello world, and it's still there, except in T2 Linux. Anyway, so yeah, most minimal stuff. Little bit quality of life improvements that I don't see this random stuff every day. I turn this test system on, which at times is daily. Sometimes if I excessively test new T2 stuff or other bootloader, sometimes I see this even 8 times a day, right? It's like, yeah. Anyway, so I tested that, right? We will see, I did this now because now we will spin new ISOs. So the same code is printed for Spark and PowerPC, so it shouldn't break something, but you never know what some carriage return does, I hope. Because on Spark and PowerPC, the GRUB serial output and maybe even sometimes frame buffer is sometimes a little strangely formatted, so I didn't want to upset it even more. So I tested this with GRUB here. That is left from the EFI firmware. Then just GRUB. Maybe this, you know what, maybe I shorten this. I think I remove, you know what, I do it like, I don't need this column. And it's not like we print something after that. And you know what, let's get, it's like, yeah, let's save some bytes. But it's more of, I can't see that daily. No, I also, this is why we can't have nice things, right? Imagine that like the whole BIOS, the whole Windows, even at times the Linux kernel or the GRUB bootloader is full of quirks and strange leftovers and stuff. And like yesterday, you quickly want to build Firefox, some older versions like, yeah, Python, you need Python 2, you need that, and then that's incompatible, that breaks. It's like, nah. It's a tiny thing, but I hope you enjoyed this, learn something. Also, people always ask me where to get started, right? These are the small things. Get your hands dirty with, this is the tiniest Hello World like code, and everyone could do that, right? I would argue every 10-year-old, probably have to practice with my little one soon. If something annoys you, like this printout, grab the sources, unpack the sources, like think where it could be in, unpack the sources, grab for the string. If you don't find it, think again, might be somewhere else. Of course it was in GRUB, but theoretically it could also have been, like if GRUB would use some libefi or whatever, I believe Elilo, the original EFI loader that Hewlett-Packard wrote for Itanium, there might have been a libefi or so other stuff could also be like if you unpack Elilo, maybe you find other stuff in libefi or whatever. So if you don't find it, look harder, try harder, grab different stuff. And that is a super easy thing, right? Sure, you need to know how to configure, make install, you need to know how to open a text file, but I would say 99% of my subscribers know that already. And then like if something is strange and buggy, so we could, of course, like what else could we do? I think that is the most reasonable thing we could do here in this case. It's not the prettiest. Also, I would need to debug why it leaves this color here, because I tested that already. I copied that already to the test system. Of course it works. Then the GRUB method is printed here, because like the BIOS leaves it here with 98 and here, as you see. So then the GRUB is printed here. This background color corruption is still there. I don't really care about that. And it looks still a little bit shitty, but there is so much I do in that case. It's because apparently GRUB is not clearing lines, right? So I would think the BIOS even leaves the background color there, because otherwise like GRUB is not changing the color here, right? And my debugging revealed that, I should have made a photo though. We have GRUB printed here, we still have the background color, so GRUB is not outputting a background color there as far as I can see. So, nah, but at least it doesn't look completely shitty. So this also means with the new line, we would have, I mean, the thing is, with the new line also removed, actually the output would look slightly better, because it would, GRUB would clear that, right? GRUB would print with foreground color whitish on black background. You would have that here cleared, so you could argue it would, like with this additional new line removed, it would look at least a tiny little bit better. But yeah, I also don't know what the BIOS developers are thinking, right? And then when I tell on my more main channel, BIOS bugs, burn the memory channel, does this, does that, whatever, all the bugs, all the auto options, right? And then PC gamers, you're doing it wrong. Like no, we're doing it right. It's just like BIOSes are BIOSes. They are full of low quality code. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, learned something. Of course, this will go into T2, like literally now. Some people, of course, your nice commit messages, right? Some BIOSes like ASRock X570. Oh wait, did I even copy that? Is it even X570? Actually, did I? Yeah, I commit this later. I need to check. I think I somehow didn't. No, I just realized I probably typed this out of my memory. I actually looked this up a second ago, but probably forgot to copy and paste it. What was the name? Welcome, carriage return. I believe it's some cheaper board. What? Some B550. Actually, do I not have this in my title? Actually, B550 M-ITX, and yes, theoretically /AC or whatever, but yeah, it's apparently B. What M? And also they want slightly different spelled. Nah. B550 M-ITX. Yeah, can't mix this up. It's ridiculous. Anyway. Welcome. Oops. Yeah, thank you very much. Welcome message to return to beginning. To avoid randomly printing them. Now shortened welcome string message. Patch grub welcome message to. Okay, we have welcomes there already. Yeah, we have. Just the beginning of line to avoid randomly start printing the now shortened string. It's probably fine. Super, yeah. Anyway, that is how you perfect an operating system, one patch at a time. Paul says, sir, rather than sidetracking a stream, could you provide a playlist to help with debugging a poisoned Windows kernel suitable and any source code search? What do you mean with poisoned Windows kernel? Do you mean like hacked or what? Very similar. ASRock B550M. Blah blah blah, right? Similar ASRock. Is it not the same? Sorry, maybe you have the same board then. The title was correct, just my patch string. So you're saying I had very bad luck contacting ASUS with the burnt memory channel, and even a failed the BIOS updates increasing significantly. Significant stability problems, and not being able to flash a previous version back. Then I had very bad luck contacting, who was it, Gigabyte? Was it the Aorus Master? Which was it? Probably it was, right? When somehow the NIC firmware corrupted, and I only wanted the firmware to flash it on the NIC firmware, so both support attempts to totally disaster. So yeah, you say you had better luck there. BBC overclock on the rest of my one. It sounds amazing. Game Mobile says doesn't have this issue. So you would only see this if you have a normal GRUB menu. The GRUB menu is simply, this is why I quit it here. It took me 5 times. So if you just do this, you see this also. Okay, I intentionally did that. So as you see, if you cancel quickly, you see that. So you only see that if, for more normal use cases, you don't even see that, because GRUB clears then the screen in some way, shape or form. In later code. So you only see that if you full disk encrypt unlock early, like I do. As you see running this in QEMU, like if we cancel this quickly, you see this string here. So what we patch, you often don't even see unless you have full disk encryption. And even if, as you see, GRUB completely cleared the screen and started from the beginning. And so this was even, I patched the file. Let's regen that. Even in a more full, like in an even more full-featured GRUB setup that I just messed with to debug that, you also don't see this because the menu paints that over, right? So the only thing is I have full disk encryption unlocked very early, so that all my configuration, other stuff is not unencrypted, which may not, I've not checked. Again, I run my Linux distribution for 20 years. I don't have, like, I'm already busy patching everything that I find like daily, as seen here. So I cannot review what other, like I do the stuff like I want to do. You see the menu, by the way, our menu also patched, so standard stuff has some ugly menu. If the menu is drawn, you also don't see this, right? It's only like if we would install that and we would install with full disk encryption, then you would see it, right? Because then very early our full disk encryption would run this crypto mount. That is a crypto mount stuff, and then you would see that. So chances are, like it sounds, we have the same board. Chances are your board should have the same bug, unless it's a combination with a graphic card, right? It is always possible that whatever EFI exit, whatever hook there, that I don't know what device driver stuff could exist. It is possible that some video buy thing messes there additionally. I mean, I could plug something else in there. Maybe I try this another day. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this, learned something. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And hope to see you soon for the next fun and bug fixing to come.